Welcome to the Money Savvy Parents Podcast, the podcast for parents to gain financial education to then pass on through the generations. I am your host, Laura, mother to 3 beautiful children and founder of a financial coaching business, Savvy Peacocks. Let's remove the taboo from money together. Welcome back to my podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Laura. Today we're going to delve into the topic of how you approach money. So let's take a question from the audience.
I've been listening to your podcast and it's made me realise that my friends and my family approach money in lots of different ways. Can you share any insights about the different ways that people manage their money? Thanks.
Thank you so much for bringing this question up, but also recognising what's going on around you. What that tells me is that you've really been taking in all of these podcast episodes and are so much more aware around the topic of money than you were previously. So it's really funny that you've brought this up because I've actually been developing a philosophy or an approach towards money, different languages, the approach you take towards money, and I'm calling it money languages. And the reason this can be really useful is not only for yourself, but also to share with your partners, your family members, your friends, because once you understand their approach to money, you'll find it so much more easier when you want to start talking to them about money, but it also might help you understand some of their behaviours. So this is a big part of our mission at Savvy Peacocks, to remove the taboo from money together. So if you can adopt this philosophy and understand these different money languages, it will really help you breaking down the taboo subject of money within your life. So I've created a quiz, and once you've completed this quiz, you'll be able to take a decision around what areas you want to change. And in reality, what you're looking for is a balance across all 5 money languages, which is optimum. And that's what I like to call a savvy peacock. So let's have a look. There are 5 money languages I see that are most common for people to fall into. So the first one is the ostrich. This is likely to be someone that hates looking at their bank balance, doesn't check their bank statements, maybe spends frivolously and worries about it later. They likely have a lot of anxiety around money, which is why they have this approach, and they choose to bury their head in the sand rather than taking a proactive approach. This is one of the money languages that doesn't have that many positive aspects. However, it can bring temporary fulfillment. It allows you to be spontaneous and have that feeling of the oxytocin that rises within you when you buy something without overthinking it. But the problem with this is that it's often followed up by a very quick feeling of regret. So an ostrich would very often be going ahead, buying something, not worrying about it, and then maybe realising afterwards that they didn't have the money or can't afford it, and therefore they'll have the regret. So the first step to changing this approach to money is realising that you are an ostrich, accepting that it's not a sustainable way of living, and that you can change this approach to help you grow and flourish into something bigger and better. So there's lots of work to do around being an ostrich, but certainly there is always a place to take that spontaneous feeling and do something about it. And that's where I say it's important to have a balanced approach. The next money language to talk about is the money maker. So this is someone that's focused on a daily basis to increase their income. They want to find more ways to make money. And if you're feeling like that, then this could definitely be you. This person often doesn't look at their outgoings and focuses on predominantly around their incomings. However, the risk with this approach is that you could be living up to your lifestyle and missing out on an opportunity to grow your wealth. So what I mean by that is, if you're focusing purely on your income, you may not be looking at what you're spending your income on, and therefore you're living up to those means rather than taking it as an opportunity to grow your money even further. And this is where a moneymaker really misses out. So when you focus on the money coming in and not necessarily how you spend it, it often ends up creating a lifestyle that spends that income rather than creating more wealth. So someone can easily have a high income and not be very wealthy, just the same as someone earning a mediocre income can be extremely wealthy. So a moneymaker is great because that person's got the drive and they're really focused, but perhaps what they need to do is look at realigning where they're focusing and what elements of their life in which they could make even more money without actually having to work harder. So that's something that an approach that the moneymaker would take. The third one is the penny obsessor. So this language might actually sound worse than it actually is, because this person is actually very shrewd with their money. They know exactly where every single penny goes, and they know the minute it leaves their bank account. They're highly likely to keep their receipts and check their bank accounts every day as a minimum. And they do really enjoy knowing where all of their money has gone. But funny enough, they're also likely to have quite a lot of anxiety around money, which is where this behaviour comes from. And even though this person might come across as organised with their money, it could also be that it's deemed as that they can be a little bit tight, or maybe they don't handle unplanned expenses very well. So even if they've got an emergency fund set up and they're in play, they've got plans in place to cover those unplanned expenses, it will feel uncomfortable to this person. Having to spend money will feel uncomfortable, particularly if it's an emergency. They really don't like to spend money on things that don't add value or enrich their lives, even if the purchase is essential. So this person really doesn't like spending money and knows exactly where every single penny has gone. The fourth money language that I've identified is what I call the goal planner. So this goal planner is highly driven towards working towards those goals, particularly money goals, and it can really sound very idealistic that this person is often found working towards short-term, medium-term and long-term goals. They'll be driven to achieve these regardless of what else is going on in their life. And what that can mean is that they can often miss out on things, or certainly things that may come across their lives in a spontaneous way, because it doesn't align with their goals. So sometimes when you're so focused on that goal, you can miss out on what's right in front of you. And that thing that's right in front of you might actually be a better option or a better idea than the goal you originally thought of. So if you can balance this money language out with having room to flex the goal, or to be able to take the opportunity to enjoy the moment as it arises, then you have the best of both worlds. There is no feeling better than setting out for a goal and working towards it, especially as you get nearer to it. But interestingly, these people probably work in a target-driven or a sales environment, and then that takes the same approach within their personal life as well. So there's great kudos to anybody that can be a goal planner and sticking to it, but it's important that they realise that they can have a deviation from that, or allow themselves to be tempted in a spontaneous way, because you just never know where those doors might open and what might come into your life around that. The fifth money language is the impulsive spender. Now, if you fall into this category, you may feel like you're enjoying the spontaneity and loving having the freedom to do what you want to do with your money. This person is likely to be one that buys what they want when they want it and worry about it later, similarly to the ostrich. But unfortunately, this means that they could end up towards the end of the month with nothing left. And similar to the ostriches I've just explained there, they have that feeling of excitement from buying something new they didn't even know that they need. But unfortunately, that feeling doesn't last very long, and it's certainly not very fulfilling. It often leads to regret. So the best thing an impulsive spender can do is turn off their advertising options within their phone. So you can do that within your settings on your phone. You can stop your gadgets listening to your conversations, and also create a 24-hour rule. And this is something I've been talking about recently on my Instagram, is if you see something that you're tempted by, then leave it in your basket for 24 hours before completing the transaction. And the chances are after 24 hours, you might not want to go ahead with that purchase. But if you do, then you've given yourself the opportunity to rethink it and make sure that you're 100% sure that you want to make that purchase. The other thing that an impulsive spender can do, which I think is really useful, is accepting that you've got that type of personality or you speak that money language. And so setting aside part of your budget or part of your money towards impulsive spending per month can really help. So you're giving yourself permission to do that, but it's not getting out of control. So you could say, every month I'm going to allow myself to spend £40 a month on impulsive spends. And of course, you don't have to spend up to that amount, but you could be creating a little pot there for anything that pops up that you want to go ahead and buy. And therefore, you're giving yourself the permission. This is probably the hardest money language to change, but it's also the most rewarding when it does change. So the money spent on impulses can be used for real value adding, life enriching things. So don't shy away from them, but manage them in the right way. So what can you do with all of this information? Now you understand those 5 money languages, I urge you to look at the people around you, observe your friends and family, try and work out what category they fall into. Maybe you could share the quiz with them and allow them to understand their own money language. And if you can take the quiz, reaffirm the section you feel you fall into, then you can start working on your journey into becoming what I call a savvy peacock, which is a balance of all 5. I don't believe in depriving yourself of something or going without. I believe in balancing everything harmoniously to allow yourself to have the permission and the spontaneity in your life, as well as being able to work towards your goals and focus on your income and what you're doing with your outgoing. So a culmination of all 5 is the idealistic, which is what I like to call the savvy peacock. I hope that explains and answers your question. Thank you so much for bringing it up in my podcast. If you do want to take the quiz, please head over to my website, which is www.savvypeacocks.co.uk. You will find my blog there around these 5 money languages, and within there is a link towards the quiz. So let me know how you get on. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you very much for listening. Have an awesome day. Thank you so much for listening to Money Savvy Parents. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please subscribe and post your money questions within a review for future episodes. If you want to learn more, then please join my Money Savvy Parents Facebook group or club on Clubhouse. Let's remove the taboo from money together.